Hey, what's going on today, guys? It's Trey. Welcome back to the channel. As always, welcome back to sunny, beautiful Germany. Today, it's a little under 0 degrees Celsius, and I'm out here wearing shorts because that's how we do it, baby. But in today's video, I want to show you guys a few things that I have seen in my German neighborhood that I would really never see in my US neighborhood. Now, I'm from the state of Florida, in South Florida in particular, so my neighborhood is completely different than anything that I would find in Germany. We did recently move from Hawaii, but I'm also using that as a point of reference as well in terms of finding things that I wouldn't find in either state. So without further ado, stay tuned. Let's get into it. Now, I think it's very important for me to mention that we don't actually live in Stuttgart per se. We don't live in Stuttgart Mitte. We don't live in Stuttgart Süd. We actually live in a neighborhood by the name of Vaihingen, which is a beautiful, stunning neighborhood located just to the southwest of Stuttgart Mitte. It's really great. There's some large houses. There's tons of public parks, tons of expansive space. And that's the reason why we decided to move here, is because we have a son, and it's just really nice to be able to go out and do whatever we want, see whatever we want without having to worry about being in a large metropolitan area per se. So we love it here. It's amazing. The next thing that I find a lot in my German neighborhood that I don't really get a chance to see a lot of in a US neighborhood are the amount of outdoor recreational activities. Now, I know this may just look like a basketball court to some of you, and for the most part it is, but the thing that's different is in my neighborhood, there's a good 10 plus basketball courts, tennis courts, racquetball courts. There's just so many different outdoor activities here in my neighborhood. There's soccer fields, there's rock climbing walls. There's just so much outdoor recreation in my neighborhood. Next thing that you will never see in a US neighborhood is actually this guy right here. Now, yes, it's a vending machine, but it's not just any vending machine. It is a dairy vending machine. This machine has cheese in it. It's got different types of pestos. It's got honey. It's got eggs. It's got milk. This, guys, is a dairy vending machine. I have never seen anything like this before. This is awesome. I'm just used to vending machines having unhealthy snacks in the US. All right, guys, next thing I want to talk about is this right here. I know it probably just looks like your normal average tree, but this right here is actually somewhat of a public library. Now, these little cutouts that you're seeing here, they actually hold books, believe it or not. So I think it's really cool. I haven't seen anything like this in the US, and I think it's a really cool sign of humanity because they run on the honor system. So when you take a book, you do have to return it, or at least 99.9% of the people do return it. I think it's really awesome. I think this is a program that we need in the US. I did a little bit of research and I see some areas like Portland and New York City and Los Angeles, they do have programs like this, but I see tons of these in my neighborhood, and I think it's really awesome. Another thing I wanted to show you guys is just how many fruit trees there are in my neighborhood. There are so many. And in my neighborhood specifically, there's actually more apple trees than anything. Now, in my neighborhood, I do see a lot of pear trees. I see a lot of cherry trees. And actually, in some people's yards, I actually see them growing oranges and plums and peaches. So it's really cool to see. And actually, the other day when I was on a run, I saw a huge amount of people picking. I think these are like the last few days left of being able to get the fruit that you want. And so I think what a lot of people are doing is they're just stocking up because it's obviously getting really cold. A lot of the fruit is starting to fall, and so people are taking advantage of it. I think it's really cool. It is free. I'm not too sure if it's legal, but I'm certainly not going to call the cops on people who are trying to feed themselves. Now, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys is actually this guy right here. Now, it probably just looks like a unassuming metal box. This right here is a tobacco vending machine. So we don't have these at all in the US. In fact, smoking culture is very different in the US than it is here in Germany. I feel like it is a little bit more widely accepted here in Germany, but you will find these all over your neighborhood. I've seen about 20 in my neighborhood. I personally don't smoke, but I think that it's pretty crazy to see something like this in my neighborhood. Now, the next thing I see a lot in my neighborhood that you will pretty much never find in a US neighborhood are beer gardens. I have about 4 to 5 in my neighborhood personally. Never been to this one. It's called Schmuggler Alm. Heard a lot of great things about it. Great food, great beer. The really nice perk of this place is we're in a residential area. So a lot of people can come here, grab beer, grab food, and walk back home. They don't have to worry about driving. And also the parking lot's pretty small as well. So a lot of people walk to this place. So it's really cool. If you're ever in the area, check it out. Schmuggler Alm, awesome. Now, the next thing I want to talk about are the amazing public parks. They are just so beautiful. I love coming to this lake after a run and just relaxing with my son. It's very picturesque. There are like tons of trails in this park specifically. I see guys out here fishing a lot. I see couples out here having picnics. It's just a really nice, relaxing place to be. I'd probably say besides the Czech Republic, I think Germany has the most beautiful public parks in all of Europe. Now, I know that can be a pretty controversial statement because Europe in general has amazing public parks compared to the US. They're beautiful. Most of the time they have public restrooms, but man, Germany's got some really outstanding public parks, guys. Now, while we're over here at the parks, I figured I'd talk about the next thing that I see a lot in my German neighborhood, and that is trails. There are so many different trails in my neighborhood. It's truly remarkable just how many pathways and like hidden trails there are here in this neighborhood. And I've actually heard a rumor that in Stuttgart, there's about 10,000 different trails to take. And honestly, that'd probably take a lifetime to achieve, to do every single trail in Stuttgart, but I think it's pretty cool. Now, this is where I do most of my running, which is nice because it's nice and shaded, but just know here in Germany, there are tons and tons of trails, which I personally love. I will always choose a nice shaded pathway to run on or to walk on because I'm not a huge fan of the sun, but there are so many different trails here. It's crazy. The one thing I will say about the trails is to be extra careful because in a city like Stuttgart, where there is literally, like I said, close to 10,000 plus trails, is some of these trails are endless. The vegetation and forestry is thick and it can be very easy to get lost here. So just be careful. I know these trails like the back of my hand because I run through them every day. But like I said, try to stick to the trails that are clearly pathed, because that's another thing is if you notice there's not too much signage on these trails either. So just be smart, don't get lost, try to take a buddy with you. And another great tip I would say is, yes, I know we live in the year 2022, but take a compass with you. And I say use the compass because sometimes our phones just don't work in this thick vegetation. And so yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry. Now, I grew up in Florida. I actually grew up in a gated subdivision. So the neighborhoods here in Germany are very different. So a gated subdivision, just to let you guys know, they're typically deed restricted. So like your houses are all gonna kind of look the same to an extent. There's really not gonna be like too many public parks or anything like that. Like don't expect to find too many pedestrians walking around. It's just simply like a neighborhood with larger houses. And so here in Germany, that concept doesn't really exist unless it's like a new development. But even in the new developments, they still don't have that mindset that we have in the US of deed restriction, of subdivisions, of restricting people's, right to expression in their homes. And so I personally love that in Germany. The next thing that I see a lot in my German neighborhood that I don't really get a chance to see in the US are the playgrounds. Now, I know a lot of you are gonna say, Trey, playgrounds exist in the US. They exist in my neighborhood, they exist in my town, they exist in my city. Well, listen, they don't exist like they do here in Germany and in my neighborhood specifically. I'm not exaggerating. There are probably 15 plus playgrounds in my neighborhood alone. And to be honest, if I were probably to do a little bit more exploration, I could probably find up to 30. There are playgrounds everywhere you look. There's rock climbing walls, there's slides, there's swings. There's just so much for kids to be able to do and see. And as a dad, I love that so much because I can take my son for a walk. We'll get to a playground. He'll be able to have fun. I can watch him. I can meet with other parents. We can have little play dates. It's just really, really cool to see this neighborhood have so many playgrounds. It is unbelievable. And plus the playgrounds are really nice and they're really kept up phenomenally. Now, the next thing that I want to show you guys is something that you would find in the US, but you don't see them as much as you used to. They're starting to close nowadays. And that's actually going to be public pools. Now, sadly, this one is closed today for obvious reasons. It is freezing cold out here, but I'm not sure if my camera's picking it up. This place is awesome. I mean, you can kind of see, like, you know, there's a huge field back there, right? There's the pool. Way back over here, I see we've got some volleyball courts. We've got a tennis court back over there. We've got another pool. Now, in the US, whenever you go to a public pool, there's a public pool and that's it. But you can kind of see through the gate back here, there's like a water slide, and it's a huge water slide. It's like one that you would find at Wet and Wild in Orlando, you know, or one at Raging Waters at Six Flags. It's just really cool to see, and they've got like a huge locker room. And then right over here, you can see, I'm not gonna go in and film in there, there's actually an indoor pool. So while it is freezing cold and you can't go to this pool over here, you can actually go over to the indoor pool, which I think they have 2 of them at this location. It's heated and it's cool. So really, really awesome to see. Especially in Florida, you will never find an indoor pool. Now, the next thing that I want to show you guys is really something that you will never see in the US, and that is the large amount of bike parking located here in Germany. Bike culture is very different in Germany than it is in the US, and it's very different here in Europe versus the US as well. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Europe is more pedestrian friendly, and obviously gas prices are pretty high here in Europe. So people like to bike a lot, so I get it. But if you look at this place alone, like guesstimation, this side alone has about 25 different spots to park your bike. And then this side over here has about 30 different places to park your bike. So it's really remarkable. And this is only one side. I can actually look down the sidewalk over here and see that there's even more bike parking. So yeah, bike parking is huge here in Germany. Something else that I see a lot here in Germany that I really never see in my US neighborhood are trash and recycling receptacles. I see these everywhere. There's at least one on every block. And as you can see, they are huge. They're big, they're massive. And as a lot of you guys know, the German trash recycling system is super complex, but these receptacles that are available to the public really make it easy. And that's why if you notice, you don't really see too much trash around anywhere. It's really nice. These help out a lot. The US could definitely use these because a lot of cities, sadly, in the US just look like dumpsters. So yeah. And look, it's literally located right off the sidewalk. There's no excuse to be littering in Germany. Final thing that I want to show you guys that I see a ton of in my neighborhood here in Germany are Kitas. Now, Kitas are the German equivalent of preschool in the US. And so they're really beneficial educational environments for younger children. And so as a father of a young son, this is amazing for me because we will have so many different schools to choose from for our son. And so it's just really exciting to know that I will literally be able to walk out of our home, walk my son to school, walk to him after school, pick him up and bring him right back home. And so I personally love that. And I think it's really awesome to see so many different ones here in my neighborhood. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. I'm really glad that I was able to show you around my neighborhood, show you the different things that you will find here in Germany that you really won't get a chance to see while you're in the US. So don't get me wrong. I mean, guys, I can't say it enough. I love Germany so much. You know, so many people ask me all the time, Trey, how on earth could you leave Hawaii? How could you leave the Aloha State? How could you leave paradise to come to Germany, a place where it's cold, a place where it's landlocked for the most part? You got to remember, guys, I'm in my 30s now. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a business owner. You know, these are different things that I've had to consider. And, you know, for me, it's easier to live here in Germany than it is to live in the US, right? And so I've talked about this in a number of videos, but it's amazing here in Germany. I cannot say that enough. There's gonna be so many great educational opportunities here for my son. You know, he's gonna grow up speaking German. He's most likely gonna speak Spanish. You know, he's obviously gonna speak English. So, you know, I couldn't pass up this opportunity to live here. And I know a lot of you guys are gonna say, well, Trey, you could have taught your son German in the US. Why would you move to a foreign country? Well, I moved here because this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and honestly, we couldn't pass it up. And you know, for us, Germany has always been a country that has been on our radar for places to live. You know, we've had family that have lived here. My wife's sister was born here. My dad was stationed here in the Air Force for years. My wife's dad was stationed here in Germany for years. My wife's mom obviously lived here. And yeah, it's just, we've heard a lot of great things about it. And you know, a lot of people tell you like, oh, a place is great and whatnot. I've heard that thousands of times. But like, this is one place where people have said it's great, and it's actually great, right? So everything that people have said, everything is added up since we've been here. Like, it's amazing. There's so much to do. You know, I can't say it enough. I love it here so much. So, you know, things are getting a little bit crazy right now in the US. And so if you're looking for an escape, if you're looking for a place that is safe, a place where there are tons of educational opportunities, I would always 100,000,000,000% tell you guys that Germany is a really desirable place to live. And it's also a place that you can grow and thrive. You know, don't worry too much about the language. You'll learn it as you go. Just get yourself here, figure it out. I'm here to help any way I can. As always, thank you guys for the continued love and support. Hit me up in my DMs on Instagram, which I will link in the description below. We are headed to Cannstatter Volksfest tonight. This is the first one since 2019, so we're really excited for that. We aren't going to the beer tent tonight, but stay tuned for a future video. We'll be actually doing a beer tent. But in the first video that we do, we're just gonna be showing you the food, the drinks, the rides, the beer, everything. So thank you guys for the continued love and support. As always, love you guys, appreciate you guys. See ya, peace.